In a significant development in U.S. immigration policy, the government has implemented a suspension of visa processing for individuals from Somalia and more than 75 other countries worldwide, as detailed in a recent State Department memo that halts the acceptance and processing of visa applications from these nations, including Russia, Somalia, Brazil, Afghanistan, and numerous others spanning Africa, Asia, Europe, and Latin America, with the duration of this freeze remaining uncertain amid ongoing reviews under the Trump administration, which has placed a strong emphasis on scrutinizing immigration and visa procedures to align with national interests. This broad suspension overrides a recently introduced travel rule that required applicants from 19 countries seeking B1 and B2 visas to post bonds of up to $15,000, effectively broadening the restrictions to encompass not only tourists, but also students, workers, and even green card holders, preventing their entry into the United States and leaving thousands of prospective travelers in a state of limbo without a defined timeline for resolution or indications of potential humanitarian exceptions. Officials from the U.S. government have cited elevated rates of visa overstays and heightened security concerns as primary justifications for these measures, linking the policy to the public charge clause that empowers authorities to deny visas to those deemed likely to depend on taxpayer-funded welfare programs, with new guidelines mandating consular officers to assess factors such as an applicant's age, health status, financial stability, proficiency in English, and overall potential reliance on public benefits during the evaluation process. Particular focus has been directed toward Somalia, following a federal investigation in Minnesota that revealed a large-scale fraud scheme allegedly involving Somali nationals, although the country was not isolated for any singular incident, contributing to the comprehensive suspension that impacts a wide array of visa categories and underscores the administration's commitment to safeguarding national security through rigorous vetting. As explained by a senior U.S. official in a detailed briefing, this policy is not intended as a punitive action, but rather as an effort to exemplify the principles of the visa system, emphasizing that decisions on who is permitted to visit the United States must reflect the nation's interests, a directive stemming directly from the president's initial instructions and a key element of his campaign platform, where visas are granted or denied based on various criteria, including activities undertaken overseas that may pose risks or behaviors within the country that contravene national priorities, granting the government both the right and the obligation under the law to remove individuals engaging in such actions. The official elaborated that the visa process involves denying entry to those who, for instance, enter as students but then participate in nefarious activities, or as researchers or in other capacities, highlighting that a visa represents a temporary visitor status rather than an inherent right, and that denials occur routinely at embassies worldwide during interviews where consular officers identify issues in an applicant's record or responses, affirming that the authority to deny a visa prior to issuance naturally extends to revoking it if misconduct arises post-entry, with all such decisions tied to implications for national interest or security. Shifting to internal reforms within the State Department, the official reflected on commitments made during his confirmation hearing to eliminate anti-Semitism and what the administration terms DEI ideology from the department, asserting that progress has been achieved by addressing concerning statements and actions from certain missions globally and restructuring promotions to prioritize merit over factors like background, ethnicity, skin color, first language, or birthplace, thereby ensuring that advancements in the career foreign service are based solely on performance and skill. Under the previous administration, promotions were reportedly hindered for exemplary officers due to insufficient DEI scores, leading to talented individuals being overlooked despite their contributions, a practice that has now been eradicated in favor of a merit-based system that also considers accelerating promotions for junior officers with 10 to 15 years of experience to retain high-caliber talent amid competitive opportunities in the private sector, where the lack of upward mobility could drive personnel to depart for better prospects elsewhere in government or beyond. The official expressed satisfaction with these changes, noting that a list of foreign service promotions was approved just today for submission to Congress under this revised framework, with intentions to refine the process further as needed to maintain a focus on merit and skill rather than extraneous criteria like DEI evaluations. In response to inquiries about a recent incident involving a shooter at Brown University and MIT who entered the U.S. via a diversity visa, prompting Secretary Noem to pause that program, the official indicated that the State Department is examining potential permanent alterations to the green card system, including eligibility rules, clarifying that the suspension aims not to label all entrants under the program as threats, but to investigate whether systemic deficiencies exist in the vetting procedures, such as overlooked red flags during interviews, to rectify any issues before resuming operations and prevent future vulnerabilities. This approach, the official suggested, is prudent when an individual arrives through a specific visa route and subsequently engages in harmful actions, necessitating a thorough review to enhance the integrity of the immigration framework. Turning to foreign policy matters, particularly regarding Cuba, the official addressed whether the U.S. seeks regime change in Havana, stating that while it is not merely a policy but a desirable outcome shared across administrations, the current situation in Cuba is described as a disaster, attributable not only to its Marxist and terrorist affiliations, but also to the incompetence of its leadership, which has devastated the nation through mismanagement. On a related note concerning U.S. aid cuts, the official stood by earlier statements that no deaths have resulted from these adjustments, expressing pride in the overhaul of foreign aid delivery, which has shifted from providing funds to countries only to see them funneled through NGOs in areas like Northern Virginia that siphon off substantial portions, up to 60% for administrative costs and another 20% in overhead, resulting in minimal resources reaching the intended recipients, and in many instances, host governments remaining unaware of the full expenditure amounts. Instead, the administration is advancing toward entering over 50 health compacts with various countries by year's end, establishing direct government-to-government agreements that ensure aid is utilized more efficiently and transparently, bypassing intermediary organizations to maximize impact on healthcare programs and align assistance with accountability measures. This transformation, as articulated, represents a fundamental reorientation of how the U.S. engages in international aid, prioritizing effectiveness and oversight to better serve both American interests and the needs of partner nations. Throughout this briefing, the official reiterated the administration's steadfast adherence to policies that protect national security, promote meritocracy within government institutions, and reform outdated practices in immigration and aid, all while maintaining that these steps are essential for upholding the integrity of the U.S. visa and foreign service systems. As reported by the U.S. Visa Portal, this comprehensive update highlights the ongoing efforts to refine visa processing amid global challenges, ensuring that entries align with stringent criteria to mitigate risks from overstays, fraud, and security threats, while internal departmental changes foster a more equitable and performance-driven environment free from ideological biases that previously impeded professional advancement. The suspension affecting Somalia and the broader list of countries serves as a pivotal measure in this strategy, drawing from specific incidents like the Minnesota fraud investigation to inform broader policy adjustments without targeting any nation punitively, but rather aiming to strengthen overall vetting protocols. The emphasis on the public charge clause further illustrates the nuanced evaluations now in place, where consular decisions incorporate multifaceted assessments to determine an applicant's self-sufficiency, thereby reducing potential burdens on public resources and enhancing the selectivity of the visa issuance process. In elaborating on visa denials and revocations, the official provided clarity on the operational aspects, noting that daily refusals at embassies stem from interview discrepancies or background checks, and that post-entry actions contrary to visa terms, whether involving students, researchers, or other visitors, warrant swift removal to preserve national interests, reinforcing that visas confer no permanent entitlements but are conditional privileges subject to ongoing compliance. This perspective aligns with the President's directives from the outset, positioning immigration policy as a reflection of national priorities rather than an open invitation, and empowering officials to act decisively against threats. Regarding the eradication of anti-Semitism and DEI influences, the reforms underscore a return to merit-based promotions, rectifying past inequities where DEI metrics overshadowed professional achievements, thus allowing exemplary officers to advance irrespective of non-performance-related attributes and preventing the loss of talent to external opportunities by offering clear paths for progression based on dedication and results. The recent approval of promotions under this new merit-focused system marks a tangible milestone, with ongoing refinements anticipated to sustain its efficacy. On the diversity visa program's pause following the university incidents, the exploration of enduring changes to green card eligibility reflects a proactive stance on identifying and addressing vetting gaps, ensuring that future admissions do not overlook indicators of risk and thereby fortifying the immigration apparatus against exploitation. In the context of Cuba, the acknowledgement of regime incompetence as a root cause of its woes, beyond ideological labels, informs the U.S. stance on desiring systemic change, while the defense of aid restructuring counters criticisms by highlighting inefficiencies in prior models and the benefits of direct compacts that enhance transparency and reduce waste. As the U.S. visa portal continues to monitor these developments, it is evident that these policies represent a multifaceted approach to immigration and foreign affairs, balancing security imperatives with institutional integrity to navigate complex global dynamics effectively. The suspension's impact on diverse visa holders, from tourists to permanent residents, underscores the breadth of these restrictions, potentially affecting educational exchanges, business travel, and family reunifications until reviews conclude, with no specified allowances for urgent cases yet outlined. Officials' rationale, rooted in overstay statistics and security assessments, aims to deter misuse, while the public charge evaluations introduce a more holistic review process, considering personal attributes that could influence long-term integration and self-reliance. The Somali focus, tied to the Minnesota probe, exemplifies how localized investigations can precipitate wider policy shifts, prompting a reevaluation of application integrity across affected nations. The briefing's discourse on visa authority emphasizes its revocable nature, illustrating scenarios where initial approvals are rescinded upon discovery of disqualifying actions, whether pre- or post-arrival, to uphold legal obligations in protecting the homeland. This framework, as per the official, extends to various entrant categories, ensuring vigilance against activities that undermine security and aligns with routine denial practices that safeguard embassy-level decision-making. Internally, the shift away from DEI-driven promotions addresses perceived barriers to meritocracy, enabling the department to retain and elevate skilled personnel who might otherwise seek private sector roles, offering greater financial incentives and mobility, thus preserving institutional expertise. The commitment to merit, devoid of extraneous scoring, fosters an environment where success is measured by job performance, with recent promotion lists embodying this ethos and setting a precedent for future adjustments. Concerning the diversity visa scrutiny, the temporary halt facilitates a diagnostic review of procedural flaws, potentially leading to refined eligibility criteria that enhance predictive accuracy in applicant assessments, mitigating risks exemplified by recent events. On Cuba, the characterization of its governance as both ideologically flawed and operationally inept reinforces the aspiration for transformation, while aid reforms celebrate the move toward compact-based partnerships that circumvent NGO overheads, ensuring greater portions of funding reach healthcare initiatives and empowering recipient governments with awareness and control over allocations. These elements, as covered by the U.S. visa portal, encapsulate a strategic pivot in U.S. policy, prioritizing efficacy, security, and merit to address contemporary challenges in visa administration and international relations.